Coffee Q&A here on the Onocoffee channel. I'm Jay, your host. And today we're back on the road because I've got to deliver more coffee today. So I thought that we'd go on a little bit of a trip to try something else before I do my errands. So right now we're passing through Baltimore, so you can kind of see it here on the left side. This is the Arts District. I'm on the highway, but we're going to be going through the Arts District. And how y'all doing? Welcome back to the show. Hope your weekend was good. It is a brutally cold weekend here in Baltimore. Very, very cold, especially since the Rays lost to the Philadelphia Eagles, those animals. So, goodness, something here. So we are here now, rolling through the city. I'm on the way. We're going to go check out some beignets at this place called PJ's Coffee. They are a chain that I think is originally from New Orleans. They're on the south side of the city, so it's a little bit out of the way today for me to go there. But I thought, you know what? Let's go do that. It'll save me a little bit of time. Actually, maybe it won't save me any time at all. But why not have beignets on a Monday morning? Good morning to you, Mom. And yeah, so now we're in the Arts District. As you can see around here, the Lyric Opera House will be to the left in just a moment. What's up, Devin? Yeah, here's the Lyric Opera House. I was there last February. It's a venue. So I was watching a band called Jason Isbell and the 440. One of my childhood friends, one of my really good friends, he's known as Derry in the band, is the keyboardist for the 440. So he was like, "Hey man, you want to come to the show?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, dude!" So I came down there, and yeah, it was nice. And so we've got over here. This is the Maryland Institute College of Art. This is one of their buildings. They're based down here. This is actually where I went to my first year of university. I went to art school. Thought I was going to be a fabulous artist. I was not. And then this over here is the Meyerhoff Symphony Hall. You can just kind of barely see it. It's not terribly exciting. But yeah, this is Baltimore. This is where I grew. I grew up in this city. I think Baltimore is a great city. It's just the right, after living in New York, after living in Honolulu, and after traveling the world, I think Baltimore's a really great place. Like, it's a nice city. It, in many respects, like, let's say the culinary side of things, there are things about Baltimore's food scene that lead the trends, that aren't really trendy, but they're very hip. But nobody pays attention because Baltimore's sandwiched between New York, Philadelphia, and Washington D.C., which gets all the media attention, and so Baltimore doesn't get much attention at all. Dev is in Hawaii. Oh, good morning to you. Aloha to you, man. How are things in Hawaii? And Maku, good morning to you as well. Who else is with us today? Oh, great. So, yeah. It's a nice place to live. It's a medium, not a moderate sized city, not terribly large, which is good because you don't want too large of a city because then you get lost and it's all much more crazy. Like if I go to Chicago or to LA or to New York, it's just a pain in the butt to go around. Like New York, you can't have a car. Like it's penalizing to have a car in the city. I mean Manhattan. I mean, when I talk about New York, I do mean Manhattan. I don't mean any of the boroughs. Forget the other boroughs. I went to NYU, so I was all about Manhattan. There's probably a bunch of people that are like, "Oh, dude, we hate you for that." So right now we're rolling along. We're cutting through the city because the directions said that it's faster to go through the city than around the city. So we're going through the city. This is what's called Martin Luther King Boulevard, which unfortunately it seems that in cities where they have MLK boulevards, it always kind of separates the cities. I don't know why that is. It's just a very odd thing. And in Baltimore, it kind of does. This side, I'm heading south on Martin Luther King. This side of it is a little bit nicer than this side of it, than the west side. The east side of the boulevard is a little bit better than basically the white people live over there, the black people live over there. It's really kind of, this is the problem with Baltimore. Baltimore, for as nice as it can be, is truly the tale of two cities. The people that love, and everybody loves Baltimore. everybody does. But a lot of what's the sad part is that what a lot of what's depicted in the media about Baltimore that's good is typically the white side. A lot of the stuff that's depicted about Baltimore that's bad is the black side, right? That's why if you watch The Wire. I mean, there's a lot of corruption by white people. Garcetti, Martin O'Malley. There's a lot of that happening with white people. But like, it's always like the criminality is with the is in the black neighborhoods, and the not so crime is in the white neighborhoods. It is an encapsulation of the issues that plague the United States ever since its founding. Anton says that my voice sounds compressed. I'm sorry. Maybe it could be that I have a little bit of a scraggliness in the throat, or it could be poor compression on YouTube. My apologies. I don't know. Unfortunately, since I'm unable to monitor the sound, I cannot really tell what it is. Dev, what part of Hawaii? I'm saying Honolulu. That's not true. What part of Hawaii are you from? I'm curious. So we're here. There are a bunch of, here's something you might not have seen before, or maybe you'll see them as they pass here at the window on the left, or to your left probably. There's a couple guys out here, squeegee kids. These squeegee guys are the ones that stand out on some of the corners, and they are, squeegeeing your windows to make a buck or two. A lot of people from the suburbs hate them, hate them. Like you hear my suburban friends, and they're like, oh, Baltimore is blah 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 blah, and then the squeegee kids, I'm going to get assaulted or shot, and it's like, what are you talking about? Just wave them off; they don't bother you. But in Baltimore, about a couple of years ago, there was a guy from the county that came down to the city, was driving, came up to one of the lights, got into an argument with one of these guys, and why? Why are you arguing with these guys? Why are you just thanks, no thanks, whatever. And maybe it's different. I'll grant this. Maybe it's different for me than it is for white people. Let's put white people as white people, because I'm not white, and so there is probably some kind of a different thought, right? Maybe they feel they can intimidate the white suburbanites more than me, and it's, I don't know, but whatever the case may be, maybe the interaction, the way they perceive people are different than they would perceive me, right? So, but this guy, white guy, he gets into this argument with him, and then he's so heated. It gets so heated to the point that the guy gets out of his truck. I think he was driving a pickup truck with a bat, and maybe they kicked his car or something because he got it. So he stops, grabs the bat, goes after the kids. The kids, of course, it's the city. They got guns, and they shoot this guy. Is that right? They shoot him or he shot them? I don't remember. But anyway, it's like, why do you do these kinds of things? It's like, just leave them alone. Just go about your business. There's too much to do in a day for you to get caught up in a street fight. I don't have time for that. I'm in a car. I could drive away, right? If it gets really bad, I could, if they really want to get crazy, maybe we can run them over if we have to. But I'm like, gosh, leave them alone. So we're going through the city now. You can kind of see it here. This is really the downtown area. So the downtown area, when I was a child, went through a lot of revitalization. So there was the Harbor Place. They built these pavilions on the harbor. Some tremendous impact on the city for tourism, and it's really a great city to come visit. But the subsequent owners over the past 20 years, have let the place go to shit. Like, it's just terrible. It's a horrible place. Like, I went there. Oh gosh, it's been 6 years ago. I was there. This is how bad it is. Before the pandemic, I went to the Harbor Place, and it was pathetic. It was just a shallow hull of what it used to be. I would not recommend going. I need to go over here. But I do like this city. I like Baltimore a lot. I think it's a wonderful place. Lots of really interesting and fun and quirky and strange people. Maybe that's why I like to live here. I'm strange. Maybe I'm a strange person. I do coffee for a living. So how So over here, you can kind of see it, is the Oriole Park at Camden. This is where the Baltimore Orioles play their games. I think they did very well this year. I don't follow baseball very much because, well, we haven't won a World Series since I was in eighth grade, which was in 1983. So there hasn't been too much to be excited about, and the previous owners have just were totally trashing it. They were just pumping money out of it, and so I never really, what's there to get excited about? Yeah, I'll be a Fairwood fan. I'm not gonna, I don't have to like make that kind of stuff up. It's much easier to be an All Blacks fan from New Zealand because they tend to win just naturally. I think they're just predisposed to winning. But I am a fan of the Baltimore Ravens, right? The football team here. I used to have season tickets, so I used to come down here every weekend, right? Here it is. There is it. And the M&T Bank Stadium. Where is it? Can you see it? I can't really tell, but it's right there in front of us. And spent quite a few years here going to games, freezing my butt off, burning this Pittsburgh Steelers terrible towel in the parking lot. If you have a terrible towel, you should burn it. Whatever. Anyway, so we're on this way to the beignet place because this beignet place I've heard about, and I've actually been there once because I'm like fascinated by beignets. And if you're not familiar, beignets are a New Orleans thing. And basically what they are is like fried dough. They basically take flour, a little bit of sugar, water, some salt, and some yeast, and they leaven it, and they kind of let it rise and let it get fluffy, and they cut it into these squares and deep fry them. And then after deep frying to a golden crisp, they coat them with confectioner's sugar, powdered sugar. Wonderful, wonderful. Now the last time I went here, I went here one day, and I was like, because I'd heard about the open, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to go to get these beignets and give them a try. So one day I finally got down here, and I came down. So if you ever go to New Orleans, the really popular place for beignets and coffee is a place called Cafe du Monde. And Cafe du Monde, same thing, same type of beignets. And their coffee has chicory in it. It's been a long time since I've had it. Like it's been about 8 years since I was there last in 2016. So it's been a while, but the coffee was okay. It wasn't totally horrible, and they put chicory in it. So I guess if it was really low quality coffee, the chicory helps to balance it. But how they serve the coffee at the Cafe du Monde, from what I remember, is also with cream and sugar. And the last time I was here, I had it just black coffee, and I was thinking, as I was eating, I was like, it's not bad, but I think the true experience is to have it with cream and sugar, or at least with cream. Maybe no sugar today. So today we're gonna try it, and hopefully they do this normally. Because the last time I went to the drive-thru. We're gonna do drive-thru today, and I figured drive-thru would be lickety split, but it actually took a little while. Like I think they fried the beignets to order, which was really a great thing. If you hear someone talking, I don't know if you can hear them, but if you hear the sergeant major from Half-Life talking, that's because I have the sergeant major voice option set to my Waze app. Of course, while I'm live streaming, I can't see the Waze app, so I don't really know how to. It's not. I have it set so that it only talks about alerts. It doesn't talk about when to turn. So I don't know when I'm supposed to turn. Free range. Good to see you, man. Welcome to the show. How was your weekend? Hope it was good. This weekend was it's been cold, so I was what did I do this weekend? Weekends are a blur. Oh, we had Thanksgiving last week. Oh, I had to go. I went down to Rockville, Bethesda area, in Northern Virginia to pick up some tools this past week. The week on Saturday, went down to. Gosh, I was all over. Actually, I went down to Northern Virginia to pick up these what we call parallel guides that connect to your track saw to your track saw rails, so that you can make even cuts quickly, repeatable cuts quickly. Then I went to Bethesda to pick up a table saw. I needed a table saw, and so I was like, I found a great deal from this guy that was being transferred out of the region, and he had a relatively new table saw, one of the two that I've been considering, and so he needed to move it, and I was able to find a good deal with him. Now, a couple of days later, I did find a better deal, like one that was like significantly cheaper. But since I had already made a deal with this guy, I decided to honor it instead of canceling on it and going to something else. And then I drove to another part of town, a place called New Haven of the state, to pick up a tool bag. So I was like, man, everywhere, everywhere. But it was good. It was good to get out and drive around. The nice thing about driving is you get to think about things. Ooh, I'm going to get hit by this truck because I'm getting too close to it. So we're now south of the city. We're heading actually towards the Baltimore airport area. That's where this coffee joint is. I was trying to get down here sooner or earlier so that we wouldn't have to spend so much time just driving and chatting, and we had to spend more time tasting. But I wasn't able to get out of town, out of the house in time, and get everything together. So we left the city down the Baltimore Washington Parkway. Now we're jumping off to head to the Baltimore Beltway. So Baltimore is very much like an industrial city. It has an industrial past. So a lot of working class people, which I think is part of what makes it such a quirky place. It's like working class people that have delusions of grandeur. Like we have this beautiful delusion of like Baltimore is like this sophisticated city when we're just a bunch of country bumpkins here. All right, we're getting closer, getting closer. Now there was another place down by this beignet shop. There was a donut shop that I went to quite a long time ago, and I remember the donuts being really good, but I can't find it anymore. Maybe it closed. This is right. I guess so. Okay. I'm taking an exit that doesn't look familiar, but I don't normally come to this area. Although my childhood was spent in this area. So people really ask me, like, where did you grow up? I mean, my young childhood was in the Patapsco Avenue, Arbutus area, which is really like down in dirty Baltimore. Like, not down in there, but like definitely working class Baltimore. Naomi says, what are we doing this morning? Looking for donuts. We're looking for beignets. We're on the way to the beignet shop here in Linthicum, right on Campmead Road. I'm on Campmead Road now. And yeah, I've been here before, but I thought I'd take us on a trip for the show. Like I wanted to, what I liked about last week's episode was that I was able to get to the food market earlier in the day than usually later in the day, and but it was also an interesting thing. But I thought, well, it'd be kind of boring. It might be kind of redundant to do 2 weeks in a row there. So I thought we'd come here and do. Oh, I think that's it. Carmelo's. Okay, PJ's Coffee. Here it is, PJ's Coffee. Okay, so it's going to be popping up right here. PJ's Coffee of New Orleans. Luckily, there's no line. Like, thank goodness. Like, if they cooked every beignet order to order, then it'd be like, oh my gosh, if there's like 10 people in line, it'd be like misery. So we're going to do it in the car because you know what? If I go inside and sit down and like, people tend to look at you funny. I don't want people to look at me funny. Okay. Oh my gosh, 6 for 10.50. I should only do 3, right?
Hi, what can I do? What can I get for you today?
Can I have the 10 beignets?
You said 6 beignets?
Oh, 6 beignets, 6 for 10.50.
All right, anything else?
And a coffee, hot coffee.
What size?
What are the sizes?
We have small, medium, large.
I know, but what does that mean? Small, medium, large.
Small is 12 ounces at 16, or medium is 16 ounces, and large is 20 ounces.
Ah, great. Let me have the. What's the difference between a coffee and a cafe au lait?
I'm sorry?
What's the difference between a hot coffee and a cafe au lait?
A hot coffee is just our straight drip coffee, unless you wanted like cream or sugar, and the cafe au lait is 3/4 drip coffee and then 1/4 steamed milk.
Isn't that the more like traditional thing?
I'm sorry?
Is that the more traditional thing, the cafe au lait?
I'm sorry, can you do that one more time?
Isn't that the more traditional, like New Orleans thing, is the au lait?
Yeah.
I'll try that in medium, please.
All right. You said a medium?
Yes.
Is full milk okay?
Yeah, perfect.
I'm sorry?
Perfect.
All right, anything else?
That'll be it.
Can I get your name?
All right, let's go. Let's go. I only have $10 bill, so it's got to be at least $14. So
How are you doing, cash or card?
crash.
All right, it's usually $15 even.
15. There's 2,
I'm sorry, what was this?
3, 4. Oops. There you go. I don't have any more. What do you call it? I don't have any more bill, but I got tons of quarters. I got tons of quarters. Like what happens? I get my change and I just put the quarters separate so I can pay for beaters, and then I do this. Then I put the rest in a cup, and then eventually I deposit all to the bank. Busa says I've been wanting to try this place since they opened with Silver Spring. Well, now you get to see if it's worth the trip. Thank you. Very good. All right, so PJ's of Coffee of New Orleans. Here's the receipt. So we've got $10.50 for the beignets. I don't know why it says ×2. Oh yeah, for 6, 3 pieces ×2. Cafe au lait. I probably should have only gotten the one order of 3 to save on money, but you know what? I'll probably eat them later. And cafe au lait ×1. So 14.15 plus 85 cents. 85 cents. Good Lord. That's 6%. So $15 even. Kind of expensive for a breakfast. Busa says, just Googled it and noticed that have one in Columbia Mall. Oh, could have gone to that one. Oh, well, so much for that. Well, then if we're in the mall, then it's noisy in the mall. So, all right, so now we're waiting because I think they are frying it to order, which is a very good thing. I think that's a great thing that they're going to fry it to order. It looks like a nice space on the inside, like if we look here. It looks fairly nice. Oh, look, there's a sharer type machine. I didn't notice that before. Well, it is easier to. One of the things that I must say is that those super automatic machines do have a place. Like Starbucks went to super automatics, when I was early in the business, and at the time I think they had 15,000 employees. And if you have 15,000 employees at the time, I think it was like 8,000 locations or something like that. Oh, that can't be right. It had to be more. 8,000 locations. probably have a closer to 80,000 employees, whatever it was. It was a crazy amount of number. And I remember them talking about that. I was like, I totally understand why you'd want to go to super automatically. You just hit the button. Because let's say you had 15,000 employees. How do you train all those people to the level, to a certain level, right? That's extremely difficult and costly proposition. Like it takes, like for example, like a barista at Spro, I always kind of calculated to take 2 months, 2 months to really bring them up to full speed so that they could be fully competent. Now, with the crew at the food market, I only had like 3 days, 2 days, really 2 days. We brought them to pretty good speed from zero to, I would say 0 to 85% in 2 days, which I was surprised. Like I was surprised that we're able to. They have good attitude, of course. The girls have great attitude, but I was surprised that I was able to do that. Like I just always thought it would take longer because typically, but then we're talking also now 8-hour days instead of 2-hour sessions. Like with baristas at Spro, I would really work with them very intensively for 2 hours at a time and spread that out over like a week or 2 weeks. Is that right? But 2 weeks. So 2 hours a day, it's 20 hours versus 2 days, it's 16 hours. Maybe it's, yeah, I guess it's pretty much similar, but the intensity level was also different. Like we didn't spend, like when I was training baristas at Spro, let's say the dosing, we're still using the dosing grinders, right? So part of that training would be a day, maybe 2 days of just dosing and learning how to dose accurately, right? How to build that muscle memory to dose 21 grams without having to scale it. And how we would, part of how we would do that, we would tear the portafilter, grind coffee, dose, distribute. Ah,
Would you like any napkins?
that would be lovely. Thank you. You too. All right, so we got our beignets. We're gonna go do a little parking taste testing. Let me just find a spot. Ooh, there's a post office. Okay, so here it is. The PJ's beignets. Look at that. One of the problems with the beignet, right? Oh, these are piping hot. Piping hot. The problem with the beignet is that it is messy. You know, as if you've ever you guys have all eaten powdered donuts, right? So you would know messy. Look at this. Okay, so here it is. This is the cafe au lait. You know, of course, I would like it to have the foam to be a little bit more microfine bubbly. I guess the first thing to say is that it's not bad. There is some chicoryness to it, I think. Actually, I don't know if it's chicory or not. I don't drink enough. I don't know chicory well enough to know if it's really there or not. But it's perfectly workable. Like it's not like amazing, but it's just perfectly fine. And it's not terribly hot actually. Like sometimes when you get brewed coffee, it's like really piping hot. This is hot. This is a good hot. Like I was thinking that maybe I would have to wait, but no, this is actually very nicely done. Well, meaning that it's not too hot to drink. I would prefer it to be hotter. Oh well, you know. But okay, one thing we have to do is to combat. Let me grab my jacket here. I'm going to use my coat as a bib. This is my work coat, so it's been dirtied and soiled and damaged. All right, now let's try the beignet. Look at that. Oh, nice and hot. So it's got a good crust, as you can see. My fingers are starting to burn. A good loft, good chew. It has the exterior. They cooked it a good while because the exterior has a crust built around it, which is nice because it's actually giving me an impression of a certain type of croissant or Danish. You know those ones that are really flaky, but they have like the outer layer is a little more harder or crispier, crisp or not crispy, but crisper, more toothy. Oh, let's see here. Naomi says, let's see what I get. Naomi says, before I ever heard of a latte, way back in time, my go-to coffee was the cafe au lait. Oh, nice. It's basically coffee with whole milk. Yes, yes. Steamed milk though, but it has to be steamed. So it's a little bit different. And then the ratio of it, right? Like it's a greater ratio than it would be if you were just to add milk to your coffee. Is it just deep fried sweet dough? Yeah, pretty much. It's just deep fried sweet dough. It's done in the style of New Orleans. You know, Native Americans call this fry bread. Musa says that I'm only 9 minutes away. Oh yeah, then head here. I don't know if this is a great lunch, but I mean, I don't know if this is a healthy lunch, but it certainly can be a great lunch. So quite nice. And one thing about the beignet, it's more doughy, like more like bready, and less sweet than a raised donut. Like you can see here, it's got a nice crumb on it. Mm. I think now I'm glad I bought the six because it's very easy and a nice accompaniment, right? If this is not sweet, I don't think I would enjoy it if it was sweetened. I'm glad that we didn't sweeten it. So another one. So, the powdered sugar is getting everywhere. It's now on my pants. Now, if you look here, especially there, the center, I think this particular one could have used a couple more moments in the fryer. Like it's a little bit doughy. That bite was very doughy, and not totally doughy, but just let's see. It feels doughy. I agree. I agree, Naomi. Black coffee with sweet pastry is really good. But my thought process is, how do people in New Orleans eat this, quote unquote, traditionally? Oh yes, they do cook them to order. Like that's why we were waiting in line for a while. But the nice thing is that it really doesn't take very long to fry these, and so they're nice and hot. And honestly, $10, 50 cents. Well, I feel like that's pricey. But this is America in 2025. Everything is pricey. Like $15. That was a lot. Naomi says we are eating very different things right now. I'm having Cauliflower with hummus. So you would take the cauliflower. How about taking the cauliflower, grinding it, and what kind of binder could we use? Maybe use a binder like maybe cornstarch, and then you can make your own like cauliflower beignet. Do you eat sugar? Because my aunt, she's very much of I don't know what she is, but she doesn't eat meat. But she never calls us a vegetarian. But she's kind of vegetarian. Oh, look at that nice little puffy space in there. The beauty of yeasted stuff. Hmm. So, name if you eat the sugar, like my aunt. What I mean by my aunt doesn't eat sugar. Okay, she wouldn't eat this because of the sugar. But if you don't have that restriction, this is not meat, so could be worthwhile. So I can't. You know when you go out to when you're into like really good coffee and you go out to these regular places, you kind of want to hate on them, right? You kind of want to hate them. Oh, when neighbor says I eat sugar, but I can only have it in small doses, so maybe one bite. Well, just bring your husband and order one order and have one, or order two orders like I did and just eat one or have one bite. It's a nice bite. Actually, it's a nice bite. Actually, we'll continue. We'll continue on with another biggie. These are actually really good. Actually, so this, yeah, just out of principle, you want to hate on them, right? Like you just want to hate on these places because they're not doing everything to the nth degree, and the coffee should only be done to the nth. You know the drill. You watch YouTube. You know all the YouTubers. You know all the coffee dweebs. I know them too. But you know what? There's something about these two together with whatever is in this coffee, whatever things that we may disagree with, but together, it's like it's like synergy. It has good synergy. It all comes together. Oh, do they sell beignet bites? I didn't notice. Maybe I'll have to next time I'm there. I'll do, or when I go to Columbia Mall next week, or since the food market is at Columbia Mall, I could just go get some this afternoon. Okay, here's something. These two were presuming are made at the same time. Yeah, I ate the first bag. I should be embarrassed by that I ate the first bag, but I'm not going to be. I will not be shamed for indulgence. Right? After all, we promote pleasurable hedonism on this channel. So, in the few moments, or however many minutes, 10 minutes or so that I've been sitting here eating the other bag, this bag has gone comparatively cold. Still warm, but not hot. So, nice structure in this one. Still good, but not to the nth degree. Right? Busa says that on the menu, I see they have 12 beignet bites. Oh, okay, okay. And you like the food market? Awesome. So glad you like it. So glad you like it. These are small, three. Thank you, Naomi. Appreciate that. It helps that I haven't eaten anything today, and that I may not get to eat. Right. I tend not to be very hungry lately. Like you think a big guy like me would be like eating all the time, but really I haven't. Maybe it's because I'm eating 6 beignets in a sitting. Yeah, so because it's not hot anymore, or not as hot, the pleasure is different. So if you come here and you get it, eat it right away. Or if you want to have 6, go through the effort. Coming here, sit down, order 3. When you get the 3, place another order for 3, and then maybe by the time, and hopefully by the time that they finish that, you'll have finished the first 3, and you'll just have this cascading, this continuing chain of hot beignets. And I think they do the 3 beignet orders because I think that's how Cafe du Monde does it in their shops. And if you go to New Orleans, Cafe du Monde is really nice because you go to the one that's downtown in the French Quarter. There's outdoor seating. You sit down. It's all crowded. It's super busy. Everything is bustling, and they bring you the beignets. They bring you the coffee, or the cafe au lait, and it's really just kind of fun. Of course, if you don't like crowds, it's not fun. But if you don't mind the crowds, it can be fun. All right. And so the pairing is about the beignet with the coffee. And even though the coffee may not be like truly like the best quality coffee in the world, man, it's really fun to eat them together. And I'm enjoying it. Like I love the flavors of coffee and this fried dough idea with some sweetness. I think it's a wonderful. The bitterness of the coffee is a nice balance, right? I really like that the most. And I'm really glad that I got the medium, the 16 ounce. Normally, if I would go somewhere, I would order like the smallest they have, 12 ounces if that's the smallest, preferably 6 because most of the times I don't really drink that much coffee. Like for example, despite the fact that we brew 12-ounce coffees on the show mostly, I don't normally finish the coffees. Like 9 times out of 10, I never finish all the coffee that we brewed in the show because I just don't really feel like it. So 16 ounces is like a completely odd thing for me to do. But because I knew we're getting double orders of beignets, I want to make sure that we have enough coffee to go with the beignet. Because we ever run out. Like if you watch this video on the channel from a place that I shot in Cebu City in the Philippines, a place called Tightrope Coffee. At that place they were serving coffee from Tim Wendelbo. So we got this Ethiopian from Tim Wendelbo, very nicely brewed, really great coffee. And they also I got the burnt bass cheesecake they made, really great. The two of them together, fantastic, fantastic. The problem was they brewed like maybe 6 ounces of it, like a really diminutive portion size. Which I guess if you're just drinking by yourself, that's fine. But I ran out of coffee way before the cheesecake was done, and I was disappointed. I was like, man, this is terrible. And the coffee is expensive. Like they're bringing coffee, especially coffee. Shop super like high concept place, so you know it's going to be expensive to begin with. Add Tim Wendelboe product to it, it's even more expensive, and then it's diminutive in size. You're like, oh man, that was one of the times that I wish that I had more coffee to go with my pastry. Oops, sorry for the finger, but nobody says I'll admit that I like the Silver Diner coffee because it's thick and strong. I don't know why I like it, but I do. It's not like anything. That's the thing. Sometimes you just have a connection to something for whatever reason. Maybe it was something that you enjoyed in a previous period of your life, or it just. And I also think that it's also very contextual. Like, is it within the context of your situation? If we drank this on the show by itself, I might not like it. Like I might have all kinds of things to say that were terrible about it, and certainly we could sit here and nitpick the bad things. But am I going to drive all this way to PJ's Coffee just to have the coffee, or am I really coming here for the beignet? I'm really coming here for the beignet. I can make coffee at home. So how do they go together? Do I want to satisfy my need for like super high end coffee by brewing it at home, putting it into a thermal, transporting it here, then making sure that everything's just right, or being one of those crazy people who brings his portable kit and sits in the car grinding his coffee and brewing it in the car. I don't want to be those crazy people. So these two are great together. So contextually, it's fabulous, fabulous. What more can you ask for? You know, you don't have to do anything. You just eat. You just consume. Like this is what I would tell my staff. Like, and this is what I would tell customers too, because they would come in. They're like, they want me to give. They want us to have. They want like a condiment bar, and I hated condiment bars because they're dirty. They're messy. I don't care. I didn't necessarily care about the abuse aspect, like people like taking too much, making like lattes out of whatever. I don't care about that. Like that isn't really worth it. For me, it was just a presentation. It looks ugly. It's always dirty. You always got to clean it. Why do I want to do that? Never want to do that. So we would always, you want cream and sugar? Just let us know. And if you were the kind of person that wanted 10 sugars in your coffee, we will give you 10 sugars. Gladly. I don't care about, we're not judging you. You want to spend, $5, $6, $7, $8 on a coffee and you want to put 10 sugars? Perfect. I'm happy you want to do that because my whole thing was that I would like the guest to be focused and concerned about consumption and enjoying what they're consuming rather than having to sit there and prepare it. Like I hate that preparation part. Like just let us make it for you and then go out and enjoy your life. And so it took a while for a lot of our guests to get used to that because it was so different. Nobody does that. Everybody's lazy, right? Like what pisses me off today in the modern world at restaurants, like you go to these restaurants and you listen to these servers, and I've been in the service business well, not my entire career, but most of my career, and I've gotten many tips, but like I'm totally against this idea that we should increase tips exponentially like we have been. I'm totally against the idea that tips should be given for everything. But what really irks me is that you go to a restaurant and you get served your food and you're like, can we get some? We'd like to take this home. Here's a bunch of containers. Why am I boxing my own food into containers to take home, and then I'm supposed to give you a tip for service? Like I think that's jumping the shark. I'm happy to give you a tip, but I would like to be serviced for that tip. It's like what happened in the days when you tell them they take the plate away and they package it for you, bring it back in a bag. Why is that so difficult? And I may rant about these things, and I rant about it because That's the level of service that I want to provide. Like if we're going to have, like I get upset because I would prefer to, my goal is to provide a higher level of service for people. And if you came to my place, we would do that for you. We would package it for you. You put things in the bags. Why is it so different? That's the one thing I really don't like. And self checkout. I know a lot of people love self checkout. I hate self checkout. If you want me to do self checkout, give me a discount. Then I will do self checkout every time because I'm a cheap guy. You give me 2, 3% off, 5% off for my labor. Okay, I'll do self checkout. But if you don't, why am I wasting my time? Like I remember one time I was at Wegmans. Hate going to Wegmans. Went to Wegmans. I just hate going there because it's just so crowded, so busy. I just hate going there. Went there because I needed. Oh, I want to get a cake, and I like their chocolate cakes. I went there, got the slice. Went to one of the checkout areas. Only credit cards. I want to pay cash. Only machines. What the heck? What can I pay cash? You got to go over to the other side of the store. Now I go to the other side of the store. You used to have checkouts at this side of the store. Now you have to go to the other side of the store. Went to the other side of the store. There's the self-serve checkout. 20 people in line. I couldn't believe some people were waiting in line. What are these suckers waiting in line for? 3 registers are open. All have lines. I was so irritated. I just walked up to customer service, gave them the cake, and I was like, I can't find a place to pay for this. See you later. I'm just like, I'm not going back. I just can't. It's just so like we've lost so much focus on service and customer. But when I think back to the silver diamond thing, I think that as long as you enjoy it, that's really, to me, that's the whole game. If you enjoy whatever it is, whatever you're consuming, what more is there? Like the people that sit around, I love Folgers. Like I can't. Like we talked about this, Folgers is terrible. It is objectively horrific coffee. Like utter trash. Like some of the worst coffees I've tried so far, ever. Like it's nightmarishly bad. But if you like it, like I can't hate on you for that. Like I have this close group of friends of mine, right? We all get together for cigars. They're all into coffee. And I can't talk coffee with them. Like I can't. Like I just won't. I just don't. I never bring up coffee. And I'll talk if they bring it up to me. I'll talk. But they'll sit around talking about their machines, and they've got like the Gaggia, like super automatics, and they talk about whatever great deal they found on a kilo of coffee, and they bought like 6 kilos of coffee or like a case of it. Like they're like, oh, it's really good, and I'll taste it. Every once in a while, I'll give in and I get a coffee, and it's objectively pretty bad. I never say that. I don't never. They're like, what do you think? I say, it's fine. It's great. It's fine. It's great. It's great. That's what I say. I think it's. I think I see. I see the. No, I never say it's fine because I think fine is implying that it's not very good. I say it's great because you know what? It is great. It is great for that moment. I mean, I don't like it. By no means am I enjoying it, which is why I always decline, and I always bring my own drink. Right? Usually Diet Coke, sometimes iced tea. But it's also like they enjoy it. They know that I'm an expert in coffee. Well, I'm not gonna poo-poo on what they're enjoying because you know what? At the end of the day, that's not important. If they enjoy it, that's perfectly fine. That's great. That's actually fantastic, right? Like, I think my coffee is objectively better, like tremendously better. But you know what? They see value because they're getting good deals on it, right? And they're also using machinery that perhaps won't necessarily bring out all the nuances that you possibly could. Although I am convinced that you could take these Gaggias or these Juras, and I always think I bet I could tinker with it and drive it to the point that it would produce really great shots. Because one time I was at Starbucks headquarters in Seattle, and at Starbucks headquarters in Seattle, this is actually the offices where like they actually administer everything, right? On each floor, there's a break room, and each floor in these break rooms, they put leftover machines. So one of my friends, she works there. She's like a marketing executive or something. I don't know what she does. We don't talk about coffee because she's just a Starbucks guy, right? She's a corporate guy. And but I was hanging out with her, and like I went to the break room, and they had the modern one of the modern Starbucks machines. The one that has like the shift lever on it for the steam wand. And I was like, ooh. They had old La Marzocco like Lineas too, but in other floors, but this one had the modern Starbucks machine. I was like, oh. And I was playing with him for like at least an hour. And I was like, this is kind of cool. Like, and I got to play with some of the settings to try to like adjust it a little bit more. And with the right technique, you can steam some really nice quality milk on those machines. I'm sure with more adjusting, you could get really nice shots. So I mean, there's a lot of possibilities. It's just about tinkering with them, I think. Busa says the next time you're in Montgomery County, or in the DC area, try Founding Farmers. They actually have some great beignets. Oh, okay, I'll try that. Are they more in DC or are they? I'll look it up. And Busa went to Tim's Cafe. So what'd you think of Tim's place? I went there finally. When was I there? I think it was 2019. I was in Copenhagen overseeing their roasting championship. So I called Tim up. I said, "Hey man, I'm in Copenhagen. Are you around this week? Because I'm gonna fly up and see you. Because Oslo's only like an hour flight away." So he's like, "Yeah man, come Wednesday." So I flew up on Wednesday morning, took the train into Oslo, hung out at his shop, hung out with Tim for a bit. Actually, Tim was busy. I hung out at his shop, and then he came in eventually. Because I went to the shop first, right? I didn't say who I was. I didn't say that I knew Tim. I just sat down and ordered something. And I've always gotten along with Tim, and I've always been friends, right, in the business. Like when we see each other, like in different parts of the world during different events, like a lot of times we'll get together to have a dinner or at least have a cigar and chat, right? Because he also enjoys cigars. And Tim, now him and I don't agree on everything, right? Of course, like he's a very light roast coffee guy. I'm not a light roast coffee guy, so we'll argue about that, like how he's silly and I'm silly and all this silliness, right? But we have a great time. One thing I like about Tim is that as a world barista champion, he's one of the few that has continued to show his vision of coffee, meaning that he like has his own company, he has his own shops, he's executing, and he's executing at a very high level. Like I said, I went there. I didn't tell the staff that I was here to see Tim. I just sat down, and they were very welcoming. They made me a coffee. It was really lovely, and just enjoyed myself. Then eventually Tim got there. We hung out for a couple hours talking, and you could tell they were surprised that I knew him because I was just some dude walking in, right? And that's how I like to present myself when I go to coffee. I just want to present myself as just some dude, like nobody, just a regular person coming in to have coffee because I may know the owner, I may know people, or whatever, but I don't want anyone to know that because I don't want anyone to I don't want anyone to think they're being judged. They probably are, but I don't want them to think they're being judged. And I don't want any special attention. Like I want to experience the cafe as anyone would. And like in the videos that I shoot for or during the travel, we go to the different coffee shops. I'm trying to present it in a way where you as the regular person walking in would kind of experience it. Now it's different. I realize it's different because number one, I'm carrying a camera, so like that already is weird, and that's going to change how people interact with you naturally. But hopefully that comes to. But that's how I like to go there. So, and then Tim, we hung out, but his staff is excellent, friendly, hospitable. Everything. It's very, very. I mean, always had a fondness and good friendship with him and respect for him. That respect was increased when I went to visit because I thought it was such a well executed list. Now, hopefully, I don't know what your experience like with Busa, but I imagine that it would be the same because I don't think he told his staff to expect me because they didn't seem like they did. Naomi says that's my daughter. Her coffee is so. That's like my niece. My niece doesn't get coffee. She just gets pink drinks at Starbucks. Naomi says I dislike being asked to tip before being served. Oh, no doubt, no doubt. Yeah, you give me service first and then tip. Plus, I also think that 15% is still fine. I know, gosh, I'll probably get a lot of hate for this, but I think I'm against this idea of going to 20 to 25%. People are like, well, it costs so much more. I said, yes, it does cost more. All the more reason. And those people that say that, oh, if you can't afford to tip, don't go out. Well, you know what? I won't because I can cook my ass off at home and I don't need to go out. So, but the thing is that, as prices increase, right? So does that 15%, right? If you spent $10 before, you got $1.50. Now, if everything costs $20, you get $3. That's double your tip as well. Now, I do realize that, like in America, it's super expensive to exist now. Like our country is so messed up that people can't afford homes, people can't afford to have a car, people can't afford to live, people can't afford to live in America. How can we be the greatest country on the planet if people can't afford? If people are like sitting around not going to the doctor and the hospital because they can't afford it, because they have to worry about that. The United States fails, no, not fails, refuses, refuses to provide basic human needs for its people because Jesus, right? Evidently, that's the case. Like all these Christians don't want to do any of that because they follow Christ. Because somewhere along the way, Christ has said that we don't want to take care for the poor, we don't want to care for the people. F them all. Take care of yourself. This is what Christ said. This is what the gospel of the Lord has to say. And I'm like, what are these people talking about? They're crazy. This country's crazy. It's a shame. It's a shame because you visit other nations and like the one thing that I've learned about visiting other nations is that I meet so many people around the world. They all know that I'm from the United States. I have found that it is rare the person that I've met who wants to come to the United States, who not wants to come to visit, but wants to move here. Rare. Like you've got to be poor. You've got to be in abject situations for people to want to move here. Like all these guys that are coming across the border that they're all upset about. I've been to their land. They're kind of living in some effed up stuff. Like it is messed up where they are. Like if you want to leave your family, your culture, your people to go to a new country, it's got to be pretty extreme, right? Like think about like people in America. People move to other parts of the country. Why? Because they want to? Not typically. Most people move because they're being forced to by economic opportunity, by job requirements, things like that. The guy that I met over the weekend that sold me his saw, he's moving because the military's transferred. He doesn't have a choice. He just has to move. He doesn't want to move. He likes it here. He was telling me, he's like, I'm moving to Sandy. He's living outside of D.C. in Silver Spring, but he's got a house. He's like, I could never have this in San Diego because it's too expensive. Like, man, that is just. So he's not moving there for economic opportunity. He's moving there because being told to. So it's a shame. It's a shame that we don't have. It's a shame that we in the United States refuse to care for our fellow person. We talk about caring. We don't really do it. We don't practice it. I see it every day. But just driving through Baltimore City today reminded me of that. Like I live outside the city, so I know a lot of county people. County people love to bash on the city because it's a shithole. It's whatever. It's all this stuff. Everything's now mucked up. Nobody wants to do anything about it. Nobody even wants to try to understand or care for it. It should be somebody else's problem. It's a shame. It's a shame. It's a shame. And they all say that They're Christian. Sorry, man. Getting all crazy here. Getting all crazy. Whoops. Booster said, I thought it was some great coffee and customer service was great. Oh, good. I'm so glad. I'm so glad to hear that. I'm so glad to hear that. And Booster says that the Wegmans is his favorite grocery. I mean, I know so many people love Wegmans. So many people love Wegmans. I don't. You know why? Because it's just, I just, I go to the Horn Hunt Valley a lot. So it's like, it's the way you get into the parking lot kind of is weird. The parking lot's always filled. It's always busy. The store's so big, so you got to do all this walking to get something, and it's like. And then a lot of times I might go there because I'm looking and thinking, oh, maybe they have something specific, and then they don't have it. I'm like, oh, why did I come here today? And the battle through all those people, forget it. I'll just go to Giant or Lidl. I don't go to Aldi. I like Lidl better, but you know, I prefer smaller. And says, so what do you think of Patrick Rolfe? I'm gonna guess you don't want to say too much, since Patrick Rolfe. I honestly don't know. That name does not ring a bell, so I don't know who that is. Oh, is that the guy that owns April? Um, if so, I met him. Oh yeah, April Coffee. Yeah, so I met him. I don't really know too much about him. Like when I was in Manila last year, last June of 2023, I happened to be there, and it also happened to be the Philippine Coffee Expo. And I went to the expo because all my friends are there. Actually, it was kind of, that's why like my original plan to go to the Philippines was to fly there and then do this like trip through the Philippines, visiting different coffee places on these specific days because I only had a narrow window. And as I start calling my friends, they were like, or people I know, they're like, well, we're not going to be there. We're going to be in Manila for the expo. And I was like, oh gosh, that sucks. So I had to like change everything, and that's why there's only a trip to Dumaguete and there's only a trip to Negros and Cebu on these videos that are coming out because I only had everything changed. But anyway, I went there with one day I went with my friend Ella, and this guy Patrick was there, and she was like, "Oh my God, it's Patrick!" And I was like, "Who's that?" Like everyone's crowded around him. Like he's got the long hair, he's got the beard, he's got that Jesus look going on. I guess that's what people like about him. Looks like Jesus, but Jesus was from the Middle East, not from Europe, for God's sake. That's what they tell people in America. I'm like, Jesus looks more like Osama bin Laden than anything else. You know, Christians don't tend to like that. Like it's like they forget that Christ comes from the Middle East. Christ wore a thobe. Anyway, but I have no opinion. I don't have it because I don't really know him. I know almost nothing about the guy. Like everyone's like, oh my God, it's Patrick, it's Patrick, it's Patrick. It's like, cool. He was like giving some kind of brewing demonstration, I guess, with his brewer. I've only seen the April brew. I've never used it, so I don't know. I really know nothing about it. But he looked like Jesus, and everyone was excited to see him. So I was like, cool. I met him briefly. Someone introduced me to him, and I was like, oh, hey, how's it going? Nice to meet you. And I was like, he seemed personable enough. I just don't know. Like I said, I don't know. I know nothing about April. I know nothing about their. I know. The only thing I know about April is that they exist, and that their brewer exists, and that a lot of people like to use it and love to talk about it. But I know nothing beyond that because I honestly don't pay any attention to what people say about this. I'm like, okay, cool. That's another brewer. How many pour-over brewers does one need to buy in their arsenal? Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like, I look at my coffee gear and I'm like, why do I have what am I going to do with all this stuff? Like, how many pour-overs does one need? I don't know. But I think it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. Naomi says people have done terrible things in the name of Christ, and it didn't have anything to do with Jesus. Oh, no doubt about that. No doubt about that, Naomi. Japan takes care of their own first, and I wish we were more. I wish so too. I wish so too. So many nations are so much better at it than we are. Like another nation that's really bad at it is the Philippines. Like the Philippines is terrible at that. And you know what? The Philippines, you know whose image the Philippines government was designed by, was designed in and by the United States. Yeah, yeah. Very sad. Very sad. All right, well, we've had our beignets, we've had our coffee. I've ate more beignets than I probably should have, but yeah, who cares? I've got a bunch of coffee here in the back that needs to be delivered. So, and I babbled on long enough and sat here burning gas that I probably shouldn't have burned. Now my coat is covered in powdered sugar, and my vest is not so coated in powdered sugar. So, all right, time to hit the road. Always good to see you. Thank you very much for tuning in. I know it's way past our normal time, so we're going to head out. Back again tomorrow with more of the coffee Q&A and perhaps not as much pontificating about how poor of a humans we become in the world. And maybe in the next 24 hours, I will have read more about Patrick Rolfe and April and have a more of an opinion on it. But that's actually quite unlikely. All right, so I hope you have a wonderful day out there. Thank you very much for tuning in. Always good to see you. Oh, wait, let's see here. I thought you might have met, yes, but only because my friend Ella was super excited to meet him. I would not have met him otherwise, because here's the thing, like, when I got into the coffee business, there were quite a few people that were coffee celebrities who wanted to be coffee celebrities, who wanted to be adulated by the masses. And there were definitely people that were adulating them. And they had that air about them. Right? I think that's what you're talking about. He presents himself well, but I'm not. Oh, his eyes. Okay, gotcha. I don't know if Patrick's like this or not. I'm just saying, like, there's another guy named Peter that's very much like this. But I was never that impressed mainly because of my experience. I come from a background where I worked in motion picture production. So I worked for Hollywood and around Hollywood people for 10, 12, 15, almost 10, 12 years was my active career. And so I worked with like real celebrities, like worldwide famous celebrities. I've slept in celebrities' beds, and that was never a big deal for me. Like, and I met crazy like famous people. Worked with them daily. So to meet people that were like famous in coffee, honestly, it was cute. I was like, "Oh, that's cute. You're famous in coffee." Am I supposed? And then you meet them, and some of them are like really kind of have attitudes. I'm like, am I supposed to be impressed because I've got this person's phone number? I'd call them anytime. Are you crazy? So I don't know. I'm like, I don't know about that. All right. So anyway, back to what I was saying. Covered in suspicious. Oh, nice. Yeah. If I get pulled, there was a contest. All right. So hope you guys have a great day out there. Thank you very much for tuning in. Back again tomorrow with another coffee Q&A. Yeah, I noticed you flexing with me. Well, truly the. I mean, I only know him as James, and like those that are really close to him call him Jim. I think that's a weird name to call him. I only knew him as James, so I never called him Jim. But James, yeah, that's my coffee flex. But really, it's a flex because you know what? These are guys. When I got to know James Hoffman, he was no one. He was just like the rest of us, starting out, dumb, idiotic in coffee, trying to figure it all out, offering all kinds of suspicious theories on coffee and try to work it out. This is way, way before he became the Daddy Hoff. All right. See you guys next time. Have a great one.